Hello, good people. Let's talk about the importance of an apology, how powerful it is, how life changing it could be. I had a moment recently with my daughter that was really a humbling moment for me. Um, she was working on this toy, right? Like this toy that we have where it provides you with a bunch of things like the days of the week, the weather patterns, the temperatures outside, if it's a weekday or weekend. And we were playing with this morning as she was getting ready. And I was telling her that, like, this piece right here doesn't come out. And she was adamant, like, no, daddy, it comes out. And I'm like, no, it doesn't, right? And she's like, yes, it does. I'm like, you're gonna break it if you pull it. And so, listen, when a child doesn't believe you in a two-parent household, what are they probably gonna do? Go run to the other parent. So she went to my wife and it's like, Daddy said this piece won't come out and that I could break it, and he's making me sad. And my wife is like, okay, what's making you sad? Is because Daddy is wrong. It can come out. I've done it before. And very powerful moment, not only because she articulated very clearly what exactly was happening and the emotion and feeling that came from me saying she couldn't do something, but that she went to a person in a place where she could feel that she would be heard. Because obviously she was feeling like I'm not hearing her. And that's a whole nother conversation around making sure that people feel heard. That's not what we're talking about today. But I do want to come to that, the value of feeling heard, feeling respected, feeling like your opinion matters. But back to this, right? So my wife comes in, she's at the door coming in. I got the toy in my hand. I'm like, yeah. She said this piece comes out. I'm like, it doesn't come out. And she was like, actually, it does. So she grabs it and she's like, playing with it. And whoop, the piece comes out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? Here's a lesson for me to learn. Right. And so in that moment, what I did was my child is sitting off to the right in a chair, looking at me, determining how am I going to respond in this moment. Because often we have moments in life where we get to be shown a bigger truth. We get to be shown an opportunity to do something different, and we may overlook that. And this was an opportunity for apologizing, because apologies to me are very powerful. They're very humanizing and necessary and restorative. And so I got this toy. I was going through this experience. And so I go over to her and I say, baby girl, you told me that this piece could come out of this toy, and I told you that it couldn't. And then you went to your mother and explained how you felt about it, and I heard you say that I was wrong. And now that I see that you were correct, that I was wrong, and I want to apologize to you. Daddy is sorry for not believing you. And if you so choose, will you accept my apology? And her 3 year old self came out and was like, Daddy, I accept your apology. Or apology. Daddy, I accept your apology. It's okay. I love you. And powerful moment, because I think about the ways in which, for myself, I was raised. And not that my parents were the type to not say sorry, but oftentimes it felt like the sorry came with a dismissiveness. There wasn't the full acknowledgement. And the older I get, the more I realize that the acknowledgement of what took place is what I really wanted. I wanted you to know the harm that you did, how it made me feel, acknowledge that, and then apologize. I want you to shape the language of apology. Um, and so I'm recognizing that this is happening. And I want other people to take a moment to think about it too. Like, honestly, have you ever been in a relationship, it can be personal or professional, where you've been wrong and you never get an apology? And it feels heavy on you. Like, it's hard to function. You don't want to be in the vicinity of the person. You don't want to show up to the job. You don't want to be in the relationship anymore, because it's just another time where somebody has done something messed up to you. And you know for a fact that you are due an apology and they don't want to do it. And I get that oftentimes some, and I can see this even with my dad a lot, is that pride and ego gets in the way and they don't want to apologize. Because apologizing means you have to recognize the thing that you did. And if I don't want to recognize that, then I'm not going to. But it also requires you to not only recognize it, but to rectify that thing that you did wrong. And that rectification process looks like saying something as simple as, I'm sorry. It's accountability. And a lot of times human beings don't want accountability. We see this on social media all the time. We see this in our current administration. The last thing the Trump administration wants to do, any of the people who work in there, is to apologize. Looking at the floods that took place in Texas, what people wanted beyond the early alerts and figuring out how FEMA's going to support them, what they wanted was for someone within the state to say, we made a mistake in not doing this thing and we apologize. And going forward, we'll do this. But Greg Abbott decided to go on this tirade around comparing championship football to these situations. And I can think of many times professionally where this happened to me. I can think about times where I was on teams, like people may or may not know this, but like I generally don't like coaches. Not now, but I'm saying that I love the profession of being a coach. I love what all comes with that. But the responsibility to me meant a lot as a child. And I can think about coaches who told me stories of like, we're going to get championships. We're going to go to Chuck E. Cheese. We're going to go to, whatever store or place we're going to go. We're going to have a great season. And then they quit halfway through and they never apologized for leaving us. And anytime I was on the championship team as an elementary school basketball, baseball player, the people who took accountability for the wrongdoings always led us to be better teams. And I recognize that meant a lot to me. And I got to feel that means a lot to a lot of you all. Because what you're looking for is really three things when it comes to apologizing. You're looking for someone, number one, to restore trust. And that happens through them doing small repairs. And even saying, I'm sorry is a small repair. Like your supervisor who overlooked you and took all the credit, coming back to apologize in the public space amongst the group is a small repair. Your spouse that said something that very hurtful to you, coming back and saying to you, I said this thing that was hurtful, and for that I apologize. That's powerful. Right. And then the second thing that people are looking for in the power of apologizing is humility. Like being able to just be honest and say, you know what, while I am a leader, while I am a parent, while I am a husband, while I am a manager or CEO or whatever, like I'm not above being wrong. And so you have to humble yourself when you're apologizing. And it's not to be putting yourself in a position where you're looked at as lesser than, or you should pout or something. It's literally just saying, you know what, I did that thing and let me move forward. And then the last one is learning to build emotional safety. That's a good way to describe it. Building emotional safety with people. Folks have a desire and a need to feel safe. One of the basic human needs. It was in Maslow, whatever it is, the hierarchy of needs, right? That's a base level one. People want to feel safe. That's kind of what's happening in our country now, where a lot of folks don't feel safe. And so when we experience apologizing or an apology, it allows us to feel a little bit closer to feeling safe with that person. When an employer does something to you and they apologize for it sincerely and work to not do that harm again, it allows that work environment to feel safe. That's part of the reason why people leave jobs. Honestly, I feel people don't leave jobs because the job is difficult, they leave because of people. And part of the reason why working with people is hard is because people have egos. They get titles and they assume power, and the more power, it seems like the less accountability that comes with that at times. And so I think these three things, the restoring trust, the demonstrating or role modeling humility, and building emotional safety with people who have an apologetic language. My child needs me to do that. Like my father might have done that all the way, all the time, but it doesn't mean that I have to carry that on. It doesn't mean I got to do the same thing he did. She can experience something different. And I feel strongly that she's going to be the type of human being that's going to recognize and learn how to speak up for herself. She's going to have the capacity and the language to acknowledge what happened. And she's going to demand those things out of people, or she's going to formulate opinions around things that people have done. But she's also going to be comfortable with saying, too, hey, I apologize. I was wrong because it was role modeled in the home. And so, one of the things I just want people to do going forward, like just this week, as kind of an action item, a thing you can do going forward, I really want you to take this week to reflect on moments, even last week, where you were wrong, something you said wrong via text message, via meeting, via phone call, whatever it was, wherever it took place, the medium. If it was public, apologize publicly. If it was private, apologize privately. If it was on the comment section, apologize back in the comment section. Where get your ego out the way, get your feelings out the way, and do the thing that will help to create the safety, that will restore the trust, that will put you in the position to be humble. Because we need these experiences in order for humankind to be better. In order for innovation and growth to take place in our own personal lives, our professional lives, and I think even the organizations and schools that we work at, we need to know that people can admit being wrong, that they can apologize. So I just want you to take a moment. I wrote this down. The language you can say, without explanation, without trying to justify it, it's just as simple as saying, I'm wrong and I'm sorry. That's it. From a sincere place, but check your tone, okay? Because some of y'all be like, yeah, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And like the person can feel that. They know that, right? And we know that as human beings what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that. But y'all, this was a good lesson for me this morning that I had to learn. Or I would say had to learn, but it was a good lesson for me to learn and to share with people. Because I feel strongly that apologizing matters a lot more than we give it credit for. That people experience feeling hurt and they're still dealing with hurt right now. Sometimes because the 7-year-old, the 8-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 14-year-old didn't experience an apology. And now they carry all that frustration, all that anger, all that resentment that was built up is showing up in their professional spaces. It's showing up in their graduate programs. It's showing up in their educational systems. Like they bring all of that to the space. And if it could just experience sometimes one apology, it could completely change things. So you tell me in the comments, what is something recently that you need to apologize for? You ain't got to get into the details of who it was and all these things, but is there something that you need to apologize for? Or what was the last time you experienced an apology? Because sometimes some of us have been so, how do I want to describe it? We become so accustomed to being mistreated, to being wrong, that we don't even open up space for an apology, even if it comes. And so just take a moment to think about, when was the last time you received an apology? This is some of the things that was on my mind that I wanted to share with people, because I have a strong feeling that it's going to change the ways in which people do things. And if you're looking at a work environment right now where it seems like we're just not making progress as a company or organization, if it looks like we can't keep nobody around, or people's attitudes are off, like everybody just walks in feeling like ugh and defeated, somewhere a wrong took place. And somewhere someone is doing an apology. And you need to figure out where that is and address it right now. Y'all have a wonderful week.